Bob, we're ready for you.
Okay, can you hear me?
We got you now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, bring Parks and Recreation Committee to order, and I will turn it over to Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. The first item on the agenda is the Hutchison Square Wall. Given the very prominent location of this wall, I wanted just to gauge Council's interest in adding lettering to the opposite wall that Beth has circled here. I would propose that we put Town of Somerville on the empty wall. Just want to see if something Council would allow me to proceed with.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We just need to move it to full council, or can we?
I think just as long as you guys verbally tell me that you're okay with the idea, I can move forward with it.
Mr. Brown?
But I think it's a good idea. I think it would, the Hutchison Square next time or something like that.
Perfect. The second item on the agenda is just a quick report on part-time staffing issues. I just wanted to share with council an issue that we've been having for quite some time. So the bulk of our Parks and Recreation full-time staff works 7 to 3:30. We've always relied on part-time help to close and clean facilities in the evenings. Most facilities do close at sunset, but there are a few that stay open later, like Doty, Private Rentals, Jessen, to name a few. The hours that these part-time staff work vary throughout the year based on the daylight hours. Ideally, they'd come in around 4:30 and would work 3 to 6 hours each day or 21 to 42 hours a week, depending on the time of year. We currently pay $13 an hour for this part-time position. We've not been able to fill this position for an extended period of time. Truthfully, we've only had someone in it maybe like a month in the last year and a half. It's been that long. We've been trying to fill these positions very creatively, recruiting individuals. We just are not having luck. We're not receiving applications. So several of my senior staff members are picking up these hours. They're consistently getting 20 to 30 hours of overtime each pay period. These staff are being compensated at a much higher rate than the part-time. I'm not requesting anything from council. I just wanted to share the issue that we're having. And I'm hoping to somehow address this in our coming budget workshops for in the next couple of months. So I at least wanted to give you guys a little bit of information of what we're facing. And of course, if you know anyone who would love to have a part-time job, we'd love to talk to them.
Let me ask you something in relation to the pay scale. Are you having any difficulty getting people to come and work for you part-time?
These are the part-time positions. I'm not getting any part-time positions, applications for our maintenance side. With the Rollins Edwards Community Center, I can find people to work there, and we're fully staffed there. But when it comes to closing facilities, evenings, we can't find anyone and have not been able to find someone for quite some time.
Okay, that's good information.
Yes. The third item on the agenda is just a few quick project updates. The first one being the Herbert H. Jessen boat landing. The restroom is scheduled to be delivered and installed the week of April 10th. Hopefully that won't change. That is on the calendar as of right now. So finally be able to hopefully wrap that up. The second item, Doty Park, all 6 courts have been resurfaced and are open. Beth has a picture of what they look like before and after. So we're very excited to have those. And then the third item on the agenda is the Saul Alexander Park. The Somerville Parks Foundation did receive the donation for this project, and the deposit has been paid. There was interest from the community to install a shade structure on the corner that would not have courts. So what you see on the screen is the rendering. So the corner there where that doesn't show court, that's where that shade structure would go. This was not in the original scope that we discussed with council, which is why I'm bringing it back tonight. I've met with a few representatives from the pickleball community. They were receptive to fundraising for it. The total cost, the estimate I got was just over $11,000. But before pursuing or really getting the community behind this, I wanted to make sure that council would be in favor of us installing a structure like this. It would be similar to the structure that's currently installed at the playground and at the Miracle League.
I like this.
Yep.
So you would have a shade and then eventually like places to sit there.
Right. We plan to put a couple picnic tables there already on that corner.
Mhm.
So this would just be a 20 by 20 canopy
Okay.
installed over.
And you're gonna have it lighted too, right? I see the lights.
Yes, sir. The gentleman did provide enough donation to cover the court, the resurfacing and new lights for the facility.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, because there's usually a lot of people sitting and waiting to play.
Mhm.
And that was everything that I had tonight.
Thanks.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll call the Planning and Development Committee to order. Ms. Shula, if I could ask you to please go over all 4 items at the same time, since they are different, but basically are the same amendments to the UDO that make it more favorable to our customers. Thanks.
Yes, sir. I'll just read all 4 and then kind of briefly explain them. The first one, letter A, is the ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 3, to provide an event venue use and provide for the districts in which it is allowed in section 3.3 and to provide for the applicable conditions to allow the use in section 3.4. Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on February 27th, 2023. Letter B is the ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 13, Section 13.3.5, to provide that the 7-member design review board is to be comprised in part of 1 architect to include a landscape contractor in section 13.3.5 B2 and 3 at-large seats. Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on February 27, 2023, and council approved first reading of this ordinance on January 12, 2023. Letter C, ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 13, Section 13.8.2A4 to exclude demolition of non-contributory accessory structures. Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on February 27, 2023. And letter D, ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 15, definitions to provide the definition for event venue and correct the definition for utility pole. Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on February 27th, 2023. Just to briefly explain those amendments. Letter A, it was brought to staff's attention that we didn't really have an event venue use within the existing ordinance. We do have a convention center use, but that's for obviously usually much larger events. We didn't really have one for smaller events. And so this is staff's attempt to add that use and also provide for where it could occur but put conditions on some of those districts so that it tries to minimize any externalities that could come about from that use. So that's the first one. Letter B, y'all have already given first reading to, so I don't think there's really any need to explain that one. Letter C is we noticed that there was a discrepancy or a contradiction in the ordinance between the minor things that staff could approve with the historic district and the major things that had to go to the board. So this is just correcting that contradiction to make it clear that non-contributing accessory structures can be approved for demolition at staff level. They don't have to go to the board because it was a contradiction in the 2 different sections. And then letter D is providing that definition for the event venue use that's noted in letter A. And then also we recognized, actually Beth brought to my attention that the definition for utility pole repeated the definition for unincorporated areas. So that's just correcting that.
After any discussion that the committee may want to have, I would ask that we receive a motion to send all of this to full council with a recommendation for approval.
I make a motion that we send it to full council with a recommendation for approval.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
Motion did pass.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Okay, Ms. Rhonda, good evening to you, and we will turn it over to you for the Finance Committee report.
You have before you a summary of the revenue and expenditures for the month and year to date. This might be the only month of the year that I actually get to say that our revenues exceed our expenditures for the month. So I'll take advantage of that. We all get a win on that. We took in roughly $2.7 million in revenues for the month, spent 2.4 for excess of $320,000. I would like to call your attention to, I took the liberty of rearranging this report a little bit. We had a lot of one-time revenue items, one-time, our transfers in from other funds, and sometimes that kind of muddies the water to be able to really identify what operating revenues are and what operating expenses are. So in the bottom, I have a section called Other Income and Expenses. So I extracted the sale of real estate and the purchase of real estate and moved the transfers in that section so we could kind of just hone in on the revenues over expenditures on a monthly basis. So I hope that doesn't cause any confusion. If it does, I can certainly rearrange things, but hopefully that provides you a little more pertinent information. So year to date, we are still, our expenditures have exceeded our revenues. Those should catch up in the next couple months, of course. This is a detail of the property taxes, license and permits, and all the other revenue items. I would like to call your attention to the real property taxes. We have met our budget for the year. Most will have some revenue that trickles in over the next couple of months, but not a lot. So I am happy to say that we did meet that revenue item. Licenses and permits are still tracking right on schedule. I was worried about building permits declining, but I don't really see that happening at this point this year. Municipal court fees are tracking right on schedule. Local option sales tax, those are up a little bit. So I expect that to come in a little bit over budget for the year. Next, Beth. Miscellaneous, there's several categories and several things in this category. I think we're pretty good shape on most everything. Interest income, of course, is the big item that's over budget. And we'll get the rest of Dorchester 2. We'll get that reimbursement a little bit later. Impact fees, this is a summary of the impact fees for both residential and commercial. Our total revenues year to date equal over $800,000. We've had expenditures for $653. We'll be adding a little more to that for the Fire Station 6 construction and some of the subsequent capital expenditures that you're scheduled to approve today. Hospitality and accommodations. We total revenue so far between these two funds are 4.1 million. We budgeted 5 million. So more than likely we'll have additional revenues in these particular funds. The expenses in this fund are, I think it's Team 6 that we pay for, and then the transfers out to the general fund are the primary expenditures out of this fund. Stormwater, we have reached our budgeted revenue level on this particular fund at 2.4, almost 2.5 million. Expenditures are 1.5. That includes the back truck of a little over $400,000 for a net revenues over expenditures at this point of $900,000. So I added 2 other slides to tonight's finance presentation. I wanted just to kind of give you some other pieces of information as we work towards the budget retreat and thinking about next year. And I know this is not a surprise to anyone, but just felt like graphically it's a good indication of kind of where we are and where our revenues are concentrated. And obviously that's in property taxes and business licenses. Now I overlaid the budget FY23 with the actual numbers from the audit for FY22 and kind of just wanted you to see where we were. Obviously property taxes, we increased millage, so that makes sense there. Business, but licenses, that number is FY22 is larger than what we budgeted because mainly because of business licenses. when they switched the cycle at the municipal association back a month as far as the renewal date, we had some people that, for instance, maybe paid in July 21, and then their next renewal was actually paid in June 22. So they had basically two payments in that year. So I don't know how much of that is really attributed to that. We should get a little bit cleaner look this year and see where our levels come in, but that's why that number is where that is. The rest of the numbers trend look pretty good. Obviously, the tick up in miscellaneous income is from seller real estate. Any questions? You'll see these again at budget retreat, but just kind of wanted to start funneling some information so you had some things to think about.
Thank you, Londa.
Next is financial requisitions.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, if council agrees, I'd like to take items 1 through 8 and 13 and 14 that have all been discussed, and have Ms. Beth read those at one time. And if there are any questions on any of it, have any discussion, and approve them all at the same time, or pull out what may need to be discussed more.
If I'm understanding you correctly, 1 through 8 and 13 through 14 are all purchase orders that reflect what we approved at last month's finance committee.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion on the floor that we do 1 through 8. And then and 13 and which one?
13 and 14.
And 13 and 14. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Vote
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Ayes carried.
B1, authorization to issue a purchase order to Atkins Ford in the amount of $86,023 for one 2023 crew cab Dodge Ram 4500 purchased on state contract. The request is from the Parks and Rec Department. Funds to come from H-Tax. B2, authorization to issue a purchase order number 1 of 2 to Akins Ford in the amount of $116,970 for one 2023 Ford F-750 with 20-foot dump purchased on state contract. Request from the Streets Department and funds to come from impact fees. B3, authorization to issue a purchase order number 2 of 2 to Atkins Ford in the amount of $116,977 for one 2023 Ford F-750 with 20-foot dump purchased on state contract. Request from Streets Department, funds to come from impact fees. 4, authorization to issue a purchase order to Blanchard Machinery Company in the amount of $215,718 for a new Cat Model 920 compact wheel loader. Request from the Streets Department, funds to come from impact fees. Number 5, authorization to issue a purchase order to Love Chevrolet Company in the amount of $271,799.50 for 5 2023 Chevrolet Tahoes and all their upfitting and striping. The request is from the Police Department. Funds to come from H-Tax. Number 6, authorization to issue a purchase order to Motorola Solutions in the amount of $60,051.08 for 5 M500 in-car video systems and 5 APX remote heads. Request from the Police Department. Funds to come from H-Tax. Number 7, authorization to issue a purchase order to USAT LLC in the amount of $12,611.10 for 5 Sierra wireless Airlink devices, vehicle routers, router accessories, cables, and cloud management software. Request from the Police Department. Funds to come from H-Tax. Number 8, authorization to issue a purchase order to Motorola Solutions in the amount of $151,285.84 on behalf of the SPD for 14 APX 6000 portable handheld radios, and 8 APX 6000 XE portable handheld radios for SFR. The request is from the Somerville Public Safety Communications, and the funds will come from ARPA. Number 13, authorization to issue a purchase order in the amount of $48,500 to Brandon Motor Company for the purchase of a 1500 Chevrolet pickup truck from ARPA, request from Fire and Rescue. And number 14, authorization to issue a purchase order in the amount of $44,960.06 to Reinhardt Fire Service for the purchase of 4 air packs with spare cylinders from ARPA funds, and the request is from Fire and Rescue.
I'll make a motion. We approve all of these.
Second.
Motion on the floor that we approve these. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, just, I know that sometimes we will budget an amount or approve a capital purchase, and then when it comes time to issue the purchase order, something has changed. Every now and then, it's for less money, but more often than that, it's for more money. Are these the amounts that were approved last month?
They're close. The amounts that you were provided were estimates.
Sure.
So these are the exact amounts. Some are higher and some are lower. I think overall, though, it's within the amounts that you all approved last month.
Because that's really my question. I mean, I know the exact amounts changed, but we approved a total of X dollars worth of capital purchases. And is this total amount the same, more or less, I guess is the question.
I think I had gone back to, check individual ones. And I will say that, what we're hoping is that tomorrow morning, when department heads go back to actually say, oh, I want this piece, there won't be any changes. I mean, it seems like to me there's just a dynamic situation right now with capital purchases, but
Yeah, they have actually gotten the exact amounts for
Yes,
all of
yeah.
these. So
These are the exact amount.
yes, these are. Yes, they are.
And how does this total compare with the total from last month?
I have what was provided to you last month. And I haven't done a comparison, but I can tell you that as far as totals, but individually, we did check to see, and like I said, some of them came in a little bit higher, some of them came in a little bit lower, but there was nothing that I would call significant as far as a difference in the cost.
Number 9, authorization to issue a purchase order to Motorola Solutions.
Was there a
Amount-
vote on that? I don't think we voted.
We're still in discussion, right?
Correct.
Okay.
There was a
Hold on
motion.
minute, Beth.
Yeah, there was a motion and a second, Mayor.
Got a motion in a second.
Yes.
Okay.
And if there's no more discussion, then you
Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by raising the right hand, voting aye.
All right.
Oppose? No? Okay. Ayes carried.
All right. Number 9, authorization to issue a purchase order to Motorola Solutions in the amount of $54,562.82 for Motorola body worn camera replacements. The request is from the police department. Funds to come from the general fund and are fully reimbursable from an SCDPS grant.
Mr. Mayor, I would move authorization of the purchase order.
I'll second.
Our motion made and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of this, signify by raising the right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Ayes carried.
Number 10, authorization to issue a purchase order to Vigilant Solutions LLC in the amount of $75,430 for annual ALPR subscription service. Request from the police department. Funds to come from budgeted general funds of the police department.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move authorization of the purchase order.
I'll second this, Mr. Mayor.
Motion made and seconded that we approve 8, 9, 10. 9 and 10, right?
Just 10.
Number 10.
Okay, all in favor of this? Signify by raising your right hand. Vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise.
Authorize the town administrator to enter into a contract with GEL for professional services for the Somerville Ashley River Preserve up to the amount of $234,535. Funds to come from fund balance and to be reimbursed with Oak Brook TIF bond proceeds. The request is from the Parks and Rec Department.
I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to just verification what exactly it's for. I'm sure you've told us before, but I forgot.
Not sure.
Any other discussion?
She's going to answer a question real quick.
Okay.
Ms. Garsbeck, you just wanted me to give a quick summary?
Mhm.
Okay, so we had a contract with Collins Engineers, and due to significant delays, we have decided to cancel that contract. That original contract was just shy of 300,000. The only work that was completed was the tree survey, and we have paid them for that. We're still finalizing that final invoice, and so that's why I don't have an exact amount. But this new contract with GEL will either be neutral or will actually save the town. It'll be a little bit less than our original contract. But it's for the same scope of work. Nothing in the scope has changed.
And I'd like to add, this company was involved the whole time, so they already know what's going on and what needs to be done.
And the only question I have is about the reimbursement from the TIF bond proceeds. I mean, this is the Oak Brook TIF, if I'm recalling correctly, is a town is a active participant in it, but it is the county that actually put the Oak Brook TIF together. I mean, I'm just, I guess, asking for a confidence level that we will get, that we're guaranteed these reimbursements and kind of a time schedule for the reimbursement, since it is coming from fund balance.
Well, they have indicated to us as soon as we give them an approved contract, we can submit that to the county and they will immediately reimburse us.
To possibly even during this fiscal year.
Yes.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of this, signify by raising your right hand. Voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Ayes carry.
Number 12, authorization to issue a purchase order to STI Turf Care in the amount of $41,085.86 for 2 SCAG zero turn mowers. This is on state contract. Funds to come from hospitality funds. The previously approved purchase order 22-5094 in the amount of $22,730.58 for 1 mower was voided due to non-delivery of ordered equipment. The request is from the Parks and Rec Department.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Second. Motion made and second on number 12. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of this, signify by raising your right hand. Voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The ayes carry.
Number 15, authorization to issue a purchase order for $1,993,275.96 for Banks Construction Company for the pavement reconstruction of Midland Parkway. The funds will be reimbursed from the Dorchester County Transportation Committee for $850,000 and reimbursed from Dorchester County for $1,143,275.96, contingent upon the approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Dorchester County. The request is from the Public Works Department.
I'll make a
I'll make the-
motion to approve this.
And I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just have one question. It's just for clarification. When it says contingent on the approval of an IGA with Dorchester County, is the reimbursement contingent or is the purchase order contingent?
The purchase order is
Okay, good.
contingent.
Any other discussion? Are you all right with that, Bill?
I am.
Good. I'm asking that seriously.
Okay. Just,
Yeah.
just a clarification.
Yeah. Okay. No other discussion. All in favor of this, signify by raising your right hand. Vote aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed likewise. The ayes carry.
Number 16, authorization to issue a purchase order for $184,279.66 for infrastructure consulting and engineering for construction engineering inspection services for the Midland Parkway project. Funds will be reimbursed from Dorchester County for $184,279.66, contingent on the approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Dorchester County. The request is from the Public Works Department.
I'll make the movement, that we go ahead and authorize this.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried.
Authorization for the town administrator to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Dorchester County for the funding of the pavement reconstruction of Midland Parkway.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move authorization for the town administrator to enter the IGA with Dorchester County for pavement of Midland Parkway.
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
Motion made and seconded on D. Any discussion? All in favor of this, signify by raising your right hand. Vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The ayes carry.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
You done? Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Vote aye.
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 Opposed likewise. If you do, you can stay here. Means adjourned.